The 600 trillion times bomb, while the next crash will be worse than 2008 Lehman Brothers crisis, the banking crisis. The global economy is sitting on the bomb so large most people don't even know it exists, a hidden 600 trillion web of the financial bed of 10 times bigger than the market. Last trigger of 2008 is now woven directly to every bank, every pension fund, every government bond, every currency on the earth. One wrong move will fail the counterparty, and I expect shock and the entire system unraveling in hours, not a month. In 2008, government barely survived 6 trillion directive disaster. Today, the market is 600 trillion and the payout too no longer work. Don't pay out those fake debt, no fake bank. Those next collapse won't be crisis. It's detonation beneath surface. A global financial system exists. Invincible framework that almost no citizen, voter, or policymaker understand the framework larger than the GDP of every nation on earth. Combined, this is a 600 trillion directive machine. Unregulated engine and determine interest rate shape the government borrowing cost, influence corporate survival, and decide whether pension fund can meet future obligations. So it's not the side of the market, it's the skeleton of the global finance. Silent directly how many flows through the bank, the corporation, and the nation, every major institution, JP Morgan, Citibank, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, UBS, Deutsche Bank, Barclays, HSBC, depend on the listed instrument to function and single move interest rate currency. Valuation cannot cause the billion of the gain and wipe out the 10 of the billion in the lost. Yeah, you gain the, you get a billion, but 10 times the billion you lost. That's how it's happened now. So it's hyper leverage system. It's a hyper leverage system. The 1% shift can multiple into the catastrophic exposure because the underlying position not measured in million or billion. It's 10 of the trillion. Government also rely on the structure, the bond refinancing cycle, and the borrowing the cost, all influenced by the directive prices. When country issue the debt, the interest is paid. Often the hedge, swap, insure, contract. If directive malfunction, global sovereign borrowing becomes unstable overnight. The interest rate. So a nation pays debt 5%, 8%, or 12% can suddenly spike because of the directive crash, supporting its collapse. This is why disruption in this system does not stay isolated. Inside the Wall Street, the hit national budget, social program, and public wages corporation depend on the directive for the managed risk. They cannot control fuel cost, currency, fluctuation, commodity, volatility, foreign sales exposure, airline, shipping company, manufacturer, tech firm, food process, even the hospital use them without the function directive. Company cannot plan future costs. They cannot guarantee the price. They cannot maintain payroll, finance, and the debt service. The moment the directive market freeze, the operation system of corporate American freeze with hidden network also determine the safety of the World Pension Fund, which is collective, pension fund. You need to have steady because for the lots of the people, retirement people, lots of retirement people because they was when they was young, work very hard, so they got a redemption for this pension fund. But if gone, this is crazy, which is collective control over 56 trillion, you see, 56 trillion retirement savings. So their long-term liability are hedged through the interest rate swap, complex derivative. Engineering and matches future payout is, if it is a fair pension system, instantly destabilize the truth beneath the global finance. The real risk isn't visible on any balance sheet. It exists interconnect directive obligation. But now we need to watch out, boycott those directive product, all of the FCDC is very important, Those are commodity department, interconnect with directive obligation. So bind by the nation, bank, especially we have to watch out those bank corporation, especially those big corporation, bony corporation, monopoly, and the household, single fragile structures, one that cannot withstand of the major shock. To understand the magnitude of the trade, you must understand this directive actually present all their core directive or the financial contract whose value in tied to the something else, interest rate, corporate debt, government bond, and the currency, commodity, equity, index. They cannot tangible asset. There are the mathematics agreement price formulas and leverage. So that's why we need to boycott those of Bitcoin, those Elon Musk, those Tesla, those Tesla stock, boycott those because they hiding those beneficiary, and those of Amazon stock, all those of Metaverse, Facebook, Instagram, those of, however, those of NVIDIA, those of Microsoft, those of Amazon, so on. And also the Tether, the cryptocurrency of the Tether, Coinbase, Coindex, or whatever, Solana, XRP, especially XRP. XRP is they plan for the takeover sweep. I don't think they can do that. XRP. So mathematics agreement, price formula, and leverage obligation written between the counterparties. Directive can be tied to the 10 million bond and 100 million, 100. Here you can see those of Treasury Department directly investment, the foreign asset, whatever. Directive can be tied to the how they investment in the crypto. You see transaction, everyday transaction from the treasury. The money go to the bank, especially the bank send the money to those crypto. It's very simple, you see. So I don't want to worry too much about those bullshit because major thing is we need to boycott those FCDC, those directive contract, A directive can be tied to the, you see, 10 billion bond or 100 billion rate movement. It require only fraction of the amount into the position. where danger begins is the national value and the headline number of represent the scalar and underlying exposure. Directive is required. We need to watch out those directive, the bank department, all of those, big bank department. Small collateral, a bank can control 100 million interest rate swap by the post-it. As little as 1 million in margin, that is 100, and one leverages, meaning 1% move on underlying the asset can erase entirely collateral basis. So when the billion such a position, S&P, we see S&P, Standard and Poor, and Moody, and Moody, Moody Securities, so on, Moody Index. Exists across the global bank, so even the moderate market volatility and becomes a system hazard. Directive take many forms. Futures, log and price for commodity interest rate, index value, and the future date of the option. Option, Standard Pool also 500 index option, it's very risk. However, so those are bank play lots of game and unfairness bank, and Wall Street, those are broker, the right, but the obligation buy, sell asset, predetermine the price, swap, exchange cash flow, fix for the variable one currency to another. So credit risk protection forward, replicate future, and they negotiate the private between the institution, making them opaque and unregulated. It's bad, they private between the institution, making them the require and unregulate each type of the. Another layer is a complexity, another layer of the leverage, another point, potential value. So the issue not is existent. The issue there, abstraction, directive do not require ownership or the underlying asset. You can bet on all year, bet on the bond without holding the bond, bet on the default without have any exposure to the company, transform market from the risk management to speculator battleground and measure in the trillion scalar intensify risk. Interest rate directive 超过 exist 500 trillion credit directive, spread is 50 trillion, and currency directive is reaches 100 trillion. So this is the number of the draft and the market capitalization entirely the nation. The danger part is a lie, interconnect. One contract depends on another contract, which is depends on another counterparty, forming chain, and when any broken link becomes catastrophic, directive concentrate the risk, magnify the loss, and create system with small disruptions, escalate $1 trillion in a stable environment. There appears controller, but border tight and condition become the accelerate and turn ordinary financial stress into an uncontrollable explosion. Explosive scalar and today directive market did not appear overnight. We can see the index number, in their report, However, emerges to decade deregulation. That's why, they don't regulate that. They don't insurance for that. So that's why financial engineering and institutions depends on the required transform a limit the risk management tool into the largest concentration. Leverages exposure to human history. The turning point that began the late of 1980, when global financial market embraced the new model of allow the institution to transfer risk, their balance sheet without them remove underlying the liability. This innovation accelerated rapidly once regulatory weakened and restriction previously limited its use of the synthetic contract by the early 2000s. Directive volume were grow and the Dow digital annual rate for investment banking competing with engineering, increasing the complex product introduction in the international swap and the directive associate ISDA agreement, so provide a standardized legal framework, enable to bank to write a massive contract without the public scrutiny. What was the once of two hedge become the profitable engine leverages. Speculation institution discovery layer could write the trillion exposure while posting only minimal collateral and absence transparency allow the market to expand without the limit. The globalization it is a phony system. So the financial firm managed to provide the growth, and they only listen to the economics. Those are nominated by the Nobel. It's bullshit. That's why. Sham, it's a sham. So finance firm managed by those grow and close the trade, surveillance, debt issuance, multinational corporate. They are looking like a robbery, and they are legal robbery. You see, no law. They're not abiding by any law. It's legal robbery. The legal pilot, you see, those are pilot bank, pilot country. Debt issuance, multinational corporate balance sheet expand, the demand of interest rate, and the currency hedge surge. Each requirement create new directive for the 2007 national value and combined. About 500 trillion largest unseen by the general public because most contracts were traded private, not on regulated exchange. Regulator lack of the visibility into it's the same as the cryptocurrency. They don't regulate, and those are platform. You see, those are theater, those are Alanet, those are Binance, those are they stolen the money easily, and they don't regulate because they can steal money from Treasury Department. You see, and bank. How dare, those are, and then becomes everyone on earth have to pay them. They make it rich. You sacrifice our currency, you see. We become the slave. Everyone becomes slave on earth because those are theater, Coinbase, those are bullshit, those are internet, those are criminal, online cryptocurrency criminal, SPF, bullshit. You see, those are young people, they stolen money from cryptocurrency. Another unregulated. The bank allowed them to do this, nearly collapse instead of the dismantling, restructure, and architect. The policymaker double down on the same, even those Congress, they have no idea because those are, 54 years, something like that. And they multiple increase the debt, print the money, but without any regulate, without prevent those risk. It becomes everyone have to pay those bullshit. Policymaker double on the same, and now we have to pay for the Trump family. Okay, so policymaker double down. The same mechanic central bank, because why? Because Trump collusion with the Kennedy, those are family, and they try to use XRP to take place the SWIFT. and without regulate, they move the money, So that's why those are big tech, you see, those are invite, go to the White House is Amazon, NVIDIA, those are phony, those are very dangerous scam, and the Facebook, Metaverse. Wow, criminal, they are criminal. The debt insurance increased sharply. Institution used to the swap. Management expanding the obligation as a result, the market rebounded, exit and the persist level. So a few years from 2010 to 2025, exposed global borrowing push. You see, NVIDIA have 800 billion borrowing, so on. And they promise paybacks, to those of buyer, you see. But if the buyer don't pay back, they are collapse, so on. So that's how the phony system work, Microsoft with NVIDIA together, you see, in there, they corrupt together. You see, Amazon, they are all corrupt together. So we have to find a way to boycott those sick, very sick system. Directive used to use unprecedentedly level sovereign debt. You see, all the debt surpass probably 90 trillion a corporate debt, and 100 trillion bank expand. And directive, you see those, Silicon Valley Bank is collapsed because they give the money to those phony blockchain, those cryptocurrency. It's risk. You invest by land, like a 石沉大海，打水漂。Directive book according and 600 trillion market is not accidentally. It's the cumulate result of financial dependence on the leverage. You see how those NVIDIA he brought zero to the just 3 years, 5 trillion. How they get easy money, you see. And the capsids become the structure requirement. And now they want to sell those, GPU, those secret patent to the China, you see. And those it's dangerous for the, defense, Pentagon, those military, see. They risk or they sell out the military program. For those of terrible, and they want to control our telecommunication company, you see, in world, you see. That's why, those are X Starlink satellite, you see, and NASA collusion with them. So we face very dangerous time now. So for global finance, we need to block those phony system. I will reduce Tesla, NVIDIA in the 90% of the stock price. And those bank, we need a boycott. And now BlackRock have like a bad credit, they lost in credit, see. So because they loan lots of money to the corporate, you see. The stability of a government corporation household simultaneous nearly collapse. Global financial system 2008, not caused by the mortgage. Yeah, all those things is because becomes those investor, global investor. For example, you investment iPhone, and the stock price they reduce 50%, and now becomes investor, lost their money for investment. So was the directive structures bear the top of the loss of mortgage. Some prime loan become the catastrophic. Yeah, they loan lots of, they loan lots of phony company, NVIDIA, lots of bullshit, catastrophic only because they are head of the Sajupan butcher, pig butchers. Is head by, they are top. They are top of the list of those pig butchers, criminal, monopoly. See, so multiple thought was a synthetic contract credit default swap and leveraged obligation that is expanding limit housing downturn into the worldwide shock when bank packages mortgage into the securities. They did not stop there. They stacked and derivative contract on top of these securities, increasing exposure from the billion into the 10 trillion. Lehman Brothers embodied these vulnerabilities on the paper. Lehman report asset of the 639 billion liability because they have the 13 billion appear the margin. So hidden beneath those of filing and staggering 35 trillion in national directive. Exposure contract depend on the performance asset, those are values, deteriorating and the rapidly housing price. Fair. So counterparty demand additional collateral. Lehman could not meet those of demand, and once confidence evaporate and institution collapse. So the collapse was not content every directive contract. It's connected to the Lehman because immediately unstable exposing institution across Europe, Asia, and the United States, and anticipate loss. AIG revealed the second dimension of the crisis. You see, AIG's insurance will lose the money, even insurance, you see. Approximately, if insurance will lose money, so what you can get it? Everybody lost. See, approximately 500 billion in credit protection to the credit default swap without holding the sufficient capital on the potential payout. And when default increase, AIG owe more. See, insurance owe more. A balance sheet. The U.S. government ultimately provided 180 billion emergency support to save to the AIG bailout as the company to prevent collapse institution, and depend on the you see, those money from treasury still paid by the people, global investor. You see, so the collapse institution depending on the directive guarantee and totally coordinated response to reach. So 19 trillion globally loan and guarantee asset purchase. Liquid injection required to keep the financial structure. We don't know, we don't know Elon Musk loan how much. You see, because by they hiding, and that's why they hiding the benefits. You see, it's supposed are not allowed. Those are doing this, phony, The 63 fraction today's scholar and historic demonstrate one fact: with absolute qualities, directive crisis does not confine itself. Individual bank spread instantly to the interconnect contract, transforming isolate. Those are bank, I will tell something. Our bank in the world is no liability. They are phony. The value into even the sweet is just platform for the bank. But those bank is dishonest. They're expanding into the market 10 times, large is far greater than depends on the liability. So we need to reform those phony banking system, you see. The structure today directive market fundamental more dangerous than the system. Nearly collapsed 2008. The totally national exposure expand roughly 60 trillion over the 600 trillion, you see. 6 trillion becomes 610 times, you see. Give me a break. But the composition, exposure, what is make the current environment exponential more unstable. The market is now dominated by the three category: interest rate directive, credit directive, and the currency directive. Interest rate directive, credit directive, and the currency directive. So that's why, So carrying risk amplified by modern economic condition, interest rate directive. So who win the, I think anyone on earth who even win a Nobel Prize cannot find a solution for this bullshit. But we try to figure out how to. You see. So those are Nobel Prize economics. I will give you the 0 prize. Okay, give me a break. Represented those. And those are, who win the Nobel Peace Prize are given the 0 prize because they make a war. They don't make peace. They make more war. And they make more suffer, more death. Because they're selling the weapon to kill each other, okay? Our worry is because those politicians, unqualified politicians, they are heartless, they don't have conscience, they just want the money. Those are Congress, those are senators, those are president are despite of you because you don't have capability to solve this problem. Even the United Nations, Anthony, okay, give me a break. You just talk, conference for nothing, yeah. And World Bank is the same, you see. The 5% of 2023 every increase create substantial winner. But priority, we need those, phony billionaire, trillionaire, we need a boycott. We need a block them. We don't buy their system. Microsoft, Tesla, X, break, give me a break, so. Metaverse, Facebook, you see. Reduce their stock. Oh, not only 90%. I think maybe multiple times because those are directive 10 times. See, more than 10, 90%, 900%. See, 900%. Not the 90%, 900%. Okay, corporate. The debt have reached historic. Corporate liability. United States alone expand 2 trillion to 2008 over 10 trillion. You see, when 2 trillion in 2008, now it's become over 10 trillion. The higher refinance costs make a default more likely, and each default trigger a directive obligation by the counterparty. Maybe unprepared to honor the same instrument for the multiple mortgage used in 2008. Atop the vastly largest, the debt structure currency directive is existing 100 trillion faced pledges. From the geopolitical fragment, it's weakening the confidence the US dollar as the dominant reserve currency, and more countries diversify the trade settlement away from the dollar. The foreign exchange market experience and the sharper dislocations and the directive to this movement and can shift a billion in value. So some of the underground, especially some underground also finance loan system, no insurance is couple, is headache. Couple is German language. Couple, is headache, creating stress across the bank instrument. Stable global monetary heritage, the new landscape defined, the extremely leveraged, compressed, liquid, and the network exposure. It's more interconnected than before. The risk no longer limited to the specific sector. Span and the government, corporate, financial institution, simultaneous expansion directive form to the risk management tool or indispensable. The backbone of the global finance ensure any disruption cascade through the system. Unprecedented span, managed to and the core stability, modern financials become the unmistakable when examining whether 600 trillion global directive. So concentrate the United States, 4 institutions, JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, hold on nearly 90% of the directive, you see. Good. Now we have to wake up with them. Take care of them, okay? 90% focus of those bullshit. And exposure who learn from those Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, see. Okay, unlike anything being previously financial treasure. And the sheet enormous directive book are incomprehensive, largest production and leverages ratio. Conventional definition of Morgan Chase maintained. Yeah, Morgan Chase is same as the monopoly. Those of it's a monopoly bank. You see, single largest, approximately 54 trillion in notional directive. Wow, about the 300 billion. The capital city bank holds about the 48 trillion capital, and 200 billion Bank of America, close to a 37 trillion against around 280 billion capital. Goldman Sachs is like a totally asset. It's hold estimated 47 trillion directive and nearly 30 times equity based treasury the number of review. A system where the major bank leverages of the 10 to 1, but higher was 150 and to 1 more major against the core of the capital. So the interest rate depend is imbalanced by the cramming. Hedge, minimized exposure. One country offset another, creating balance with the hedges reprice stable market. Evaporate under the stress when volatility spike, credit risk offset, and the matter was this exactly dynamic Detroit. Lehman Brothers, which is believe in position, were in Sutherland counterparty, step performing, and the interdependence among the bank. If the bank takes this kind of risk, you see, becomes everyone risk, you see. The only hedge with each other creating circulate exposure loop where the bank hedge, bank B liability, bank B hedge, bank C obligation, bank C hedge. Eventually, you swap, the bank, the A, B, C, D, E, go through the different bank and multiple problem. Eventually leads the bank back to the bank A. Come back to the bank A, B, C, D, come back to bank A. And then the one institution lose to the other, face the instantaneous revolutions, shock, exit capital basis with ours, and concentrating nearly entirely national directive system. And also, lawyer, bank lawyer, also president is no more. It's not their position. So who gonna make this responsibility? You see, lots of people, they take all the money and